I always love going to the mailbox and getting a paycheck and say, Dad, this says that you were in the Navy. I was just, he just gave him a hard time. It says Department of the Navy. I thought you were in the Marine Corps.
The meeting is streaming live on YouTube, just a reminder.
Okay, thank
Excellent.
you. So let's see if we even have a quorum.
You don't.
So William is not, no, we don't have a quorum.
William
So,
nor Ingrid are on.
And have we heard from either one of them?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
So don't know how long
I
you
did
wanna
speak
wait.
to Ingrid. She knew about today, so could be traffic coming from Hilton Head, who knows?
Probably
Let's
would.
just see here. Yeah. So those of you watching on YouTube on County Channel, we are delaying the beginning of this meeting due to the fact that at this time we do not have a quorum. So I am going to see if I can contact the other committee members, as well as Molly is checking it out. So my apologies to you. Oh, I have a message from Ingrid that she'll be here in 6 minutes, and that was 5 minutes ago. So she should be rolling up very soon. And let me just try to contact Mr. Smith. Actually, Robin, would you mind just sending him a quick email? I don't have my computer open.
Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Oh, I think I hear him. Hurry, don't start. That's right. You can't do a thing
I
without.
nailed it, right? 102?
You were good, because I just checked my phone, so I said, Ingrid said she'd be here in 6 minutes, and that was 5 minutes ago. So, perfect, thank you. Mr. Smith's not on, so we didn't have a quorum,
Yeah, I was worried. Okay, good.
so,
Not that he's not on, but good news.
thank you, yeah. All right, so we do have a quorum now. Ms. Cushenberry, Ms. Boatright is here.
Got it.
Fabulous, thank you, ma'am. So, I'm gonna go ahead and call this meeting to order. It is a special called Operations Committee meeting today, June 25th, 2021. This meeting is being broadcast via the YouTube County Channel, and if everyone would, please stand. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, and our flag is over this way. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Our agenda calls, first item is to approve the agenda. So do I have a motion, Ms.
So
Boatright?
moved.
Thank you, and I'll second that motion. Any discussion about our agenda?
None.
So unanimous vote?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Robin, do we have any public comments?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. All right, then we're going to jump right into it. Yeah, because the first one is OE8. Thank you. And so we are here today to review the operational expectations. OE8 facilities was brought forward at our last meeting, and we had several questions of it, and Mr. Otting was going to go back and just add some information to it and so on. So we're going to start with OE8, but not in its entirety since we did a great deal of it last time. So as soon as he comes, he can just review with us those changes.
I don't think I met you.
Roberta Edwards.
Roberta, nice to meet you. Ingrid Beverly.
All right, nice to meet you. I'm
Right,
the food
thank
service
you.
operations manager.
I'm Tim Green. I'm the new resident district manager.
I'm Larry Wilson, I'm the district manager,
The old district manager.
the old district
So,
manager.
is that like a transition happening here?
No, I'm the district manager, who's the resident district manager, she's the operations, so she does she really runs things.
She
We just
does.
do it.
You guys just window dressing.
That's it.
Like that, like that.
Sorry,
I'll,
being recorded,
I'll
that's
take
why
that compliment any day. I'll be window dressing.
We love what Ms. Boatright has brought to
Yes.
We love it.
I apologize.
No, that's fine. We are just getting started, and the first thing on the agenda is OE8.
Okay.
Just so you know that we started a little bit late because we didn't have a quorum, but now we do, Ms. Boatright and myself.
Okay.
Okay, so as I was sharing with everyone, we had gone over OE8 last time, and there were just some changes and some additions that you were going to make. And I believe the first one is right here on page 3, and that was just to, just some editing.
Yes,
Yeah,
to
what you
make
see-
sure it was the same, for some reason it was different than
Right.
what the policy was.
So, no concerns there, that was taken out. So what's the next one, Robert, here on the bottom of page 4?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you wanna lead it?
Well, what we tried to capture was our discussions from last time. And if you remember, there was a conversation about the 100% utilization, if that was actually the right time to start, or if we should do sooner. And if you see in there, we kind of cleaned it up just to say that staff will go ahead and begin on, we have the goal of 85%, and we would begin reporting to the board at 90, with a plan in place at 95%, with the goal of the board to take action at 100% capacity. That's just an example. When you're thinking in the Bluffton area where you have fast growth.
Right.
If there's slower growth, we may have to adjust that in other areas.
Yeah, so I think this is a much more clear stepped approach, and it makes it so that it's not that at 100% all of a sudden now we're looking at it. And which I know is not the case.
Really too late, yes.
Right, it's just that it was never edified that way. So I think this is better, Ms. Boatright?
Yeah, I think that I recognize the need for flexibility, but I think at least this gives us a better process that makes more sense with what we've been talking about.
Right. So say again, Robert, what you were thinking if it's under 50% utilization. If there was cause for, you alluded to that just now.
I say under 50%.
No, you didn't say 50, but you said if it was the other way, if it was slow
Well,
growth.
if it was slow growth, I wasn't saying declining growth,
Okay.
because this is all about projects
Increasing.
to increase the
Increasing.
facility.
Yeah.
So an example would be the difference between Bluffton and Hilton Head. Hilton Head has been somewhat stable,
Okay.
although we may be above, say 95%.
Yeah.
It's not as quickly going to get to 100.
Got
You know, it may have a slower process just because that may maintain, like a lot of the schools, for example, on Hilton Head have maintained where they're
Right.
at, or they're inching up by 1% or 2%. Or Bluffton, you know, some of those schools can go up a couple percent per year.
Per year,
They go.
yeah.
Yeah, we're at 98%, this isn't fun.
The high school.
Well, with this new policy.
So 2 years away.
Yeah. Well, just to touch on, Hilton Head is an interesting place. The problem is we're having declined enrollment in the elementary school. And then the enrollment in the middle school is staying pretty stable, and then the high school is kind of growing, which is kind of, you would think if the elementary school is shrinking, that's going to bring its way up eventually. So, but that's kind of not what we're seeing. So we don't really have a good handle on what's happening. What you may have is a lot of kids going to private school and elementary school, and then they come back in middle school.
Only people that can afford to buy a house in Hilton Head have older kids.
Yeah.
They're not allowed to
So
start
it's something we have to watch.
Mhm.
Or I hadn't thought of that yet.
That's very good.
Yeah.
I'm seeing it.
Okay, just let me know if it comes, okay. All right. So thank you, Robert. I think that that's a good change. All right. The next one?
So the next one, page 6, if we remember last time we kind of discussed, we went over each section each main heading that was in section E, and I left out contracting. So I've added that. And pretty much we're just establishing that we're using the AIA contract format and that it should be reviewed by legal before, well, we need to modify it to meet our own needs, and those modifications need to be reviewed by legal before we bring to the board. The
Any
next,
questions?
No.
Okay. It's just the two of us, so just
Yeah,
just jump right in.
Have you met me? Jump in.
Go for it. Okay.
the next one's at the bottom of the page, I believe, I don't remember which, may have been you, Ms. Boatright?
That's Ms. Fidrich. was
Ms.
talking about the
Fidrich,
survey.
yeah, so I just kind of put that in as a goal that our school survey results should be 90%. So I added that comment to
Right,
letter H.
great. And also you added
And
about the
teacher
teachers,
groups,
which I
yes.
think is important.
Do we need that, so the board does not want to have teacher participation in survey data collection? Does that sound
The
weird?
board does want,
Oh, it does want, okay. I don't have my glasses.
Oh.
I left them in the car.
the board does want to have
Okay.
teacher.
I thought it
Share?
does not.
Yeah.
Maybe I should go get my glasses.
We can have them just.
Then I just want to make sure, because I thought it said that you were saying they wanted it from groups rather than individual stuff.
Well, it's just, one of the things, we can't survey every individual teacher. So the best way to get that teacher voice is through teacher groups. That way we can get numerous teachers in one group.
Well,
Numerous teachers.
And I would say we certainly can survey every teacher, but I think a more efficient use of it would be to use the
Yeah,
teacher.
if there's a need, we could.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. Thank you for making that change.
Then I believe, is this the last one on page, well, not the last one, on page 7. So, we kind of changed this a little bit from what we had last time. How does school facilities interact with instructional programs? We wanted it to be a little more defined. We're just stating that we are going to get the voice from instructional and have that put in place when we're looking at classroom additions and future instructional spaces. Can we read it?
No, but I will say, I hope I'm right about this, there's a typo, updated annually instead of updated annual, right? Model will be updated annually.
That is correct.
I believe this is one of the most important changes that we had because it really does reflect more of a visionary attitude. And like you said, the industrial era kind of, okay, here we have a building and we have 25 students per teacher and this is what we can do in our buildings. Instead of saying, okay, we have a building and we know we have this need. And look how we're gonna use this building, even if it doesn't fit. I mean, even if it doesn't come near to building capacity, if it's a program capacity. So I really appreciate this,
Well, and that is a change we're trying to push towards.
Right.
Yeah.
right? Who knows where we should be 10 years down the road, like starting from that area.
Oh, that's a little history lesson, the industrial era instructional model. Didn't know that was a thing.
Horace Mann,
Rose.
line everybody up.
And line them in rows.
That's right. Boom. Yeah, excellent, thank you.
Page 9, again, that's just as part of that survey of for custodial, saying that we get 90% participation and survey the teacher groups, get the teacher's voice.
Robert, did you speak to anyone about that and feel that that was unattainable or that was any conversation surrounding that?
Yes, I mean, that's a major step up. And what that does mean, actually just had a conversation with the superintendent, that just means that the participant in that survey will need to be on a principal's review. Like that'll need to be part of their review to ensure that they know the importance of it.
I think that's fabulous, because I think that they're supposed to be the ones, as you indicated, that knows what's, going on in the school, what's needed to be done in the school, and to hear that you only get back a really kind of a small percentage of principals responding to that end of the year survey, end of the year, right?
Well, we do it twice a year.
Twice a year. I just think is, this is crucial information that the people that have the eyes on the building. So I appreciate that also.
Is this the last item? Other than a couple typos, yes. So this is the process that we, it was requested that we have more definition on this process. Specifically, that we provide the information to the board in item 1, and how we, I think it was brought up that we need to present options specifically to the board, so that is noted in there. And if they, so number 5, we're getting direction. If they don't, we return back to number 2. So we clarify, try to clarify the conversation.
Number 2.
Who will be presenting options to the board? That would be
That would be staff, yes.
So you look at the typo, just,
Yeah.
yeah. So Robert, just prior to,
Prior to.
yeah, prior to,
Oh,
yeah, that's all.
I didn't even see that typo.
number 2. I thought you were making,
I
I thought you were making a child.
just left it there.
I was like, okay.
Kenny Channel's watching.
Nice, the rest are pretty much,
Yeah.
typo type items, so pronunciation.
Miss Wells, my English teacher, would have been proud of me.
Yeah.
What is the typo? I'm missing it.
On the last page, well, I also,
Prior
Options to the board prior to.
it's
It doesn't
a,
say prior.
Prior. Okay, there was no way my eyes were even finished.
You have the glasses.
Comments?
No, I mean, and this is just picky, I wouldn't mind under number 2, saying who will present the options, because I know that there's been some question about that in the past. It'd be nice to have that as a policy, that district staff, district senior staff, something like that.
well, I wouldn't go as far, I'd rather not, give a specific position or anything, because so is staff. If you're okay, we'll just add, staff shall present options.
Make sure that the district knows that.
Oh, that it's not like the South Override Committee or.
Yeah, the
something like
committee
that.
or a principal, I don't know, I just like that basically is, if someone complains that someone's bringing a project, we can say that's our policy, is that district staff will present, so anyway, but that's just because of making sure that people understand who's doing what, but it doesn't really bother me.
I believe you've captured all the conversation that we had about OE8 at our prior meeting. So, entertain a motion at this time to bring OE8 to the full board.
Yes, Madam Chair, I move that we bring OE8 to the full board.
I will second that.
No, we're moving on.
Okay.
Mr. Smith has joined, Mr. Smith has joined you now.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Smith. We had completed OE8 and Ms. Boatright just made a motion to bring OE8 with its changes to the board. I second it. And so any other discussion?
I have none.
None? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so, all right, so thank you for joining.
I will abstain because I wasn't there. I apologize. I really thought the meeting was at 2:00 and not 1:00.
Right, okay, thank you, sir. I'm glad you could join us. All right, now we are moving, actually, Mr. Smith, we're going to go around the table just so you know who all is here, okay?
Okay.
So, Molly, Molly is here. If you want to go ahead and start, introduce yourself. And so Mr. Smith will know who's in the room.
Hello, my name is Larry Wilson. I'm the district manager with Sodexo.
My name is Tim Green. I'm the new resident district manager for Sodexo.
Roberta Edwards, operations manager for Sodexo.
Robert Otting, Chief Operations Officer.
And Mark Chohan, Technology Services Officer.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody. All right, the next part of our agenda is that we are going to move into OE17, Administrative Technology. And the reason that the Operations Committee is looking at OE17 is because the Finance Committee, which met on June 10th, was going through this OE, and they just said that there were some parts that they thought fell into both camps of finance and operations and just wanted our input on it. Robin, as I was reviewing this, I listened to the video of the finance committee meeting, even though I was there, but I needed to listen to it again. It said page 26. Now, obviously, that was because it was a great long document. Trying to see which section that is, but they were talking about
where they talked about the committees, having a technology committee and having operations and finance. I think that was one of the areas that they were talking about, and what the operations felt about having the committee and who is on the committee. So that was one of the conversations.
Right, I'm just trying to, I wish I knew which page 26 was compared to what this is. I apologize, let me just take a look real fast here.
Can we switch and just do the good things and come back to technology and figure out?
I think we can just, all right, so basically, OE 17 talks about the technology and all its uses. And the gist of the finance committee's thoughts are that, again, it's not just about the purchasing of technology, but it's a utilization of technology as well. Software, how technology is used, not just the numbers of it. So they felt that it would be helpful for us to take a look at OE 17. Thank you. And some of the comments were,
That's just the first page.
yeah. Some of the comments were that perhaps there really ought to be a technology committee. You know, not just a finance committee and operations committee, but a technology committee that, especially given where we are in time, having, you know, relied so heavily on technology, which will be going away. And that perhaps it should be separate and distinct. A lot of other institutions have a tech committee. Mr. Earl Campbell said we used to have a technology committee, and Rachel and Dr. Glaus and Dick Geyer were at that meeting. They all felt that it was a reasonable idea. So Mark, if you wouldn't mind, your thoughts about this OE and a technology committee, perhaps.
The biggest thing with technology is we really can't be put in a box, because we break boundaries into every department and every area of the district. We work from food services, the facilities, the finance, you name it, HR, we're in everybody's business. So the biggest thing that we have strived to do is, when I first came to the district 13 years ago, the relationship between technology and instructional service was horrible. There was not really a relationship, it was an argument. And we have really worked over the last 12 years to form a cohesive group. So there is still a distinction between administrative technology and instructional technology, but we work hand in hand because we have to. I'm more on the administrative side. I can tell you the technical aspect, but I can't relate to the instructional side as well. So I always look for their guidance in that area. As a committee itself, I mean, I'm going to leave that to the board's will. I am here to provide the answers you asked me for and to give you whatever kind of information you would like. It can go either way.
So I ascertained from the finance committee conversation that in order for this OE to really be addressed, it would have to be addressed from all those different areas. Thus, the idea that it might be something that would come out of a technology committee. Another area that they discussed was the Technology Advisory Committee. Can you say a bit about that? Are you familiar with that? Because it's referenced in here as well.
We've had a couple of technology steering committees and or advisory committees over the year. The most recent one, we ran up until about a year and a half ago, a little before COVID started.
Yeah.
And we basically aligned it to our principal meetings here at the district office. So we took a subsection of principals, a subsection of district personnel, and then other aspects, teachers and that, and they would all come in and we would have that meeting usually at 7 o'clock before the principal meeting started at 9. And we would use that as a sounding board. It's a room full of people. A lot of times a person's not going to be the one to stand up and say that there's a problem. But in those more one-on-one settings, you seem to get those little details out. And those are the details we really need to hear, because without hearing them, we don't know where potential problems are.
Right. Mr. Earl Campbell brought up a good question. He asked if there was a community member on that advisory committee. There is not. So someone from the community that is,
and we do normally do that with like our SICs and our other committees. They usually have a community member present.
Mr. Smith or Ms. Boatwright, any questions? Please.
So I actually brought technology committee up in one of my first board meetings because I think that this is, the district does a good job, but we have a lot of problems with technology from a community stakeholder parent standpoint.
Boatwright, could you speak up a little bit?
Sure. I was saying that I actually brought up one of my first board meetings was we should consider having a technology committee because it's becoming so pervasive, because we need to look. And one of the things I was going to bring up with this OE is you talk about your interpretation of a technology plan, which is the one we filed with the state.
Yes.
I looked at ours from 2016. Technology, you can't update technology every 5 years. So we need to have a smarter use of resources. I mean, it's taking up a larger and larger part of the budget, and it's impacting children's learning, social, emotional development, et cetera, in such significant ways that I think we should have a technology committee. I think we need an annual technology roadmap, and we need to look at how we're utilizing resources. And very much to Mr. Campbell's point, how parents and families are dealing with it, because a lot of the technology happens at home, not in the schools. So I would say I'm a huge proponent of having a technology.
Mr. Smith, any comments or questions about
I've been listening to the conversation in the room, and my questions are aligned of when it comes to technology. Well, I'm okay. I'm okay.
I did want to bring also to this committee's attention about the district technology plan. Okay, so the state requires that there is a technology plan. However, pre-COVID, the technology plan template that the state requires the district to use was being revised. It has yet to be revised, and therefore the mandate to have a technology plan is not enforced. So when you go on our district website, our technology plan was ended in 2019?
2019. It's 3 years at a time. And when it was coming due, the state did not like their previous template and was revising it. Then COVID hit. The last information we got from the state was that they were hoping to have the template in the October timeframe. One thing that we have done is we are looking to put out an RFP for a outside firm to come in and do a full administrative technology audit.
Just administrative technology.
Just administrative.
Not instructional.
Well, they will go out to the schools. They will interview staff, but it's going to focus on the software and hardware more, and how it relates back to more of the business side. And we would like to get that done because we do agree with you. We would like to have a plan that's updated. The one issue is I'm not sure, I need to double check, but I think there is a state mandate that says we have to put the state's plan on our website.
That state plan is very...
It's very generic, and it's more, I don't want to say it, but
Yeah.
it's very candid.
It has good terminology,
Absolutely.
but it doesn't, there's no real way to
It
check
doesn't
back
read
behind
this.
it or use it to make any decisions.
Yes.
It's like a Hallmark card.
Yeah.
Yes.
So therefore, even though the one we have is outdated, it's required to still be on the website. Is my
Correct.
understanding.
Yes.
You can't take it down. You have to have a technology plan.
Yes.
Yeah,
Even
but it's-
though it is out of date.
But we could either have that one inform an annual technology plan or vice versa.
Absolutely. So to that end, is there
Can we make a
a,
motion to
well-
start a technology?
no, I think that you can make a motion that having reviewed this, that it was referred to us from finance, that we could recommend to the board that there be a technology committee. In the hopes that it does tie all this together.
Well, and the thing that, this is just an aside, but one of the issues with technology is it goes under the procurement radar because it's subscription.
Yeah.
So you're not recognizing the full cost of all our software and hardware. And so it doesn't, the board, I don't think the board knows how many different administrative technology platforms we use, but I've been keeping a little list as I hear about them. There's a lot going on.
Now, there was I believe, a year and a half ago, Ms. Crosby, she brought forward
A detailed
litany
list of all of
of
our
all the
software.
software programs that
Yes.
we use, because it was a great concern.
It's like a stream, here's what we had at this point in the stream,
Right.
and a year and a half later, I know
Right.
we've already changed our enrollment, we've changed Naviance to Papyrus, we've changed.
Yeah.
Right. So could we entertain a motion at this time to recommend a recommendation from the operations committee?
Well, one question, should we recommend are we recommending a committee, which I'm fine with, or are we recommending that they look, take up the idea of having a committee? I had a better word, but go on my head. Recommend that they review the need for a technology committee. What's the appropriate?
Well, what is your feeling?
I would like to recommend technology.
And I would suggest that maybe you go forward with that, and then also I would say a motion to bring forward to the full board OE 17.
Okay, so 2 seconds.
I think so. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So this came, so if this came from the finance committee, could the finance committee not recommend themselves for a motion to the board to do the same thing?
Absolutely.
I think they just wanted us to take a look at it too. So since this would be for the June 29th meeting, right? Or is it too late to put on the agenda?
Yeah, there's going to be an operations
Right.
committee report.
So we can get it on the agenda for the meeting on Tuesday if we do it
It'll come on tomorrow.
under Chairman Fidrich's report. Okay, ready?
Okay, so go ahead. Ms. Boatright's going to make a motion, I believe.
Okay, I move that we recommend to the full, I move that the operations committee recommend to the full board create a technology committee. Details be worked out later. Period. Okay,
Mr. Smith, would you like to second that or not?
Could she say that motion again?
I move that the operations committee recommends that the full board create a technology committee, a board technology committee.
I'll second that motion.
All right, any more discussion about it? Ms.
I will,
Fisher-Mary?
yes.
Okay, yeah, sure.
I will definitely say that this will be, I think that will be an interesting thing, and that may be I can see some, I just said it would be an interesting committee. I'll just say that.
Okay. All right, any other discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Question, motion from the operations committee to recommend that the full board create a technology committee, correct?
I stuck a board technology committee so that.
That there would be a board recommending the creation of a board technology.
Okay,
Because the chair.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we weren't recommending that we create a district technology committee or principals.
Okay, and Robin, that was unanimous.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay, now the second motion. I move that the operations committee recommends, or sends to the board, what's the term we used?
Accepts,
Accepts the interpretation of OE 17.
yeah, recommends the acceptance of OE 17 to the full board.
Did you get that?
Recommend, was that your motion?
That was my motion. The word recommend.
Motion that the operations committee recommend to the full board the acceptance of OE 17.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, do we have a second for that?
I didn't realize that we were there already because I had some questions about the OE. Excuse me.
Okay, Mr. Smith, this would be a good time to do it. So what are your specific questions?
In this OE, I know we have technology. We have does this in this OE does it explains the what happens when we have people with technology issues in the district?
You mean like as compared to an AR, like the administrative regulations that say if people have technology issues in the district?
Right,
I mean,
as in I know from time to time we may have staff members who may violate the policy. Is the protocol, is that all included in this?
Would that be the
Yeah,
AR?
we do. It is more on the AR, but we do talk about this because this is more of a reflection of how you will grade the superintendent.
Exactly, right.
And we do talk about the expectations. Hold on. Like for instance, in example number 1, ensure consistent best-in-class support that manages, resolves, and prevents problems efficiently, communicates effectively, and exceeds stakeholder expectations. We talk about how we deal with staff and student issues by using the web help desk ticketing service to track it. And then we review that. So when a bad survey comes in, we would then refer it to that person's supervisor. We don't give that survey to the technician because it would have the person complain against them. So we don't want to cause conflicts within buildings, but we do want to address any concerns where we may see a lacking in our technology. And then we do use those numbers. So for instance, so far this year, from July 1st, 2020 to February 25, 2021, the total number of tickets through web help desk was 20,073. 96% of the responses indicated the professionalism of the technician was either excellent or good. That was the same percentage we received in 2019, 2020. 94% indicated that the resolution of the issue was either excellent or good. It was at 94%. Unfortunately, we're down from 96% in 2019, 2020. And 95% of responses rated the overall timeline in resolving the problem as either excellent or good. And we were up from 93% in 2019, 2020. So we do use these as a continuing way to judge our effectiveness. And we provide this data to the superintendent to judge us and then for y'all to judge him.
Right. So, Mr. Smith, if I understand your question correctly, you're interested to know about how staff uses technology and how the process and so on. Every staff member has to sign the AUP, but these OEs, as Mr. Chauhan just explained, is really more of how we will be given information to ensure that the superintendent is the operational expectations and things are up to standard. I'm not sure exactly what question are you asking specifically?
No, the question I asked was the appropriate question, and it was answered. And basically, it was also about basically as well as is there, if there's a violation, what's the process? And is that in this OE?
AUP.
That would be part of the AUP and the AR, not an OE. That's like we're back in the Navy. You know?
Gotcha.
So yes, sir, that would be, so you know, every teacher has to sign that AUP.
Join the meeting.
And then, that, you know, the ARs regulate how the district is run. These OEs will be our way to see how Dr. Rodriguez is supervising and running the whole district, so. All right, any other questions? Or thoughts or comments about OE 17?
No.
Okay, can we have a vote on that motion to bring this forward with our, to accept?
Who seconded the
I thought you
motion?
seconded it. Mr. Smith, you seconded it so we could have the discussion, correct?
Yeah, it's fine. I can say, no, I didn't, but I will second the motion.
Okay, all right. So no more discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
thank you.
Can we have
Unanimous,
the
thank
person to
you.
identify themselves who just joined the meeting?
I did not see that someone joined, Mr. Smith, but thank you for asking the
Yes.
question. Is it Ms. Cartledge? Can you not hit that arrow down there, Molly, and see who else is on, you know, the arrow?
It's a phone number.
It's a phone number.
Oh, thank you. I can't see that. I appreciate that, Mr. Smith. Would the person with the phone number please identify themselves for us?
I think that's Kathy.
Okay. Ms. Robine, you think?
Yes, but I just put it into chat to ask them to please identify themselves.
Okay. Our next item of business is OE 18. And Mr. Shore, if you have things to do, or you know, whatever
you so
want,
much.
you know, do that.
I'll hear what Larry has to say.
All right. Great.
Sorry, Larry.
Thank you
We'll
very
let you
much
off.
for being here. I appreciate it.
Not a-
It's-
You also, nice weekend also.
It's Kathy and she can't unmute herself. That's Kathy who's on the phone.
Great, thank you. Okay, so OE 18 was brought also to the Finance Committee on June 10th. And the recommendation out of the Finance Committee was that the Operations Committee also look at OE 18. Some of the comments that were made during the Finance Committee was Colonel Geyer felt that the operational part of food and nutrition services, like how does the food taste, how much are the students, you know, serving sizes, and when he attended the student advisory council meetings, listening to what the students had to say about the food. So Tanya shared with the group that she monitors the entire operation, that there's a regular survey of students, that it was Tanya's recommendation to develop this food services OE so that it could be brought forward to the board to be knowledgeable about food services. So that's kind of the lead in. Would you like to make any comments about OE 18, or if you had a chance to read it, to say, does it feel?
Yeah, it's very familiar. It's very similar to other policy governments we've had for years.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
see a lot of change.
okay. Do you see where the Finance Committee thought that it shouldn't strictly be a financial type of view of,
No, I think that to Mark's point earlier, it's very interdependent what we
Yeah.
do with so many other functions in the district.
can you hear
Can you hear me
Mr.
okay?
Wilson, Mr. Smith?
Yeah, can you just a little bit more?
I'm not a shy guy, so I'll speak louder. Yeah, so the question was, is that, do we have consensus that this is certainly more than a finance committee concern or consideration? Absolutely, yes. The interdependency of food service and other departments from operations and facilities. We work closely with Robert and his team to upgrade facilities, but more importantly is working directly with the students and finding out how they're doing. Beaufort is a very large, very diverse community, and we have to stay on top of being aware of. I can tell you from experience that with the children in Hilton Head Island like and with the children Well Red like are two completely different things, and our menus reflect that. And I'll tell you that also that it's a changing palette. Roberta and I have worked together for years here in Beaufort, and we've watched so much of a dynamic and change with some of the federal regulations, and the results have been where I can tell you in 2001, when I came to Beaufort County, the interest, the appetite for particularly elementary kids was pizza and chicken nuggets.
Right.
The appetite now is salads, fresh fruits and vegetables, and it is to your point earlier about surveying. It's a big part of what we do in a lot of ways, be it very technical and informal, just very, very casual, and that's part of what we all do every day. Between 11 and 1, nobody's in the office for out where kids are eating.
Yeah.
And sitting down, if you're ever having a bad day, take a tray and sit down at the table with 7-year-olds and second graders and have lunch.
Yeah.
And all you got, and then they'll tell you everything that you want to know.
Right.
But to your point, to your question, and absolutely, I think that this is such an interdependent function that love the opportunity to
Just think about
yes,
it.
ma'am.
So can you share with us, how are those surveys done for the students? And how,
So normally what we do is we will work with the school counselors or principals or assistant principals and say, hey, can you put together a committee of students from all ages? If we're elementary, when we do it at the Early Childhood Center, we may give them some papers that have pictures on it and say, ask them a particular food item and have them circle or mark which one they like or if they don't like it, so that way we can communicate with them and get their feedback. And then at the elementary level, we get from first grade all the way up to 5th grade and just sit down with them. And we tell them a little bit about the program, but most of all, we give them an opportunity just for us to listen to them. We have our registered dietitian there, cafeteria manager would be there, and then myself or supervisor would be there also, just to be able to answer questions they may have, talk about why certain items is on the menu. I'll give you an example. When we switched to the healthier school challenge that came out, a lot of the kids questioned why we have to have whole grain.
whole wheat? pizza
Yes,
crust?
yes.
Right.
And that was a big thing for our district. So we took what they said and went back and said, okay, we need you to provide us with a piece of crust that tastes good, that meets the requirement, but it's not 100% whole grain. And the vendor came back and provided that for us, and we was able to roll that out to the students in our Big Daddy pizzas, and you literally can't tell the difference.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that is a result of the students giving
Yes.
feedback.
We call those student advisory council meetings.
Yes.
We have every school,
Yeah.
and some more active than others,
Yes.
but every school has a version of it.
Okay.
And our challenge, and what Roberta and her team do a great job of, is being able to gather all that information, to sort it by grade level, and then she can lay down those survey results with the menu and say, here's what the kids in elementary school said they don't want to see. Here's the menu, it's not there. Here's what they said they'd like to see. Within reason, there's always the guy that wants steak and lobster for lunch, but
And that's one of the reasons why there's such diversity from Hilton Head to Well Branch to St. Helens, because you're hearing from all of those people, those students and the customers in those areas, and that affords us the opportunity to actually make changes to our menus.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of cultural diversity.
Sure, absolutely, absolutely.
They can hear you. Could you say
Oh,
that?
I was just saying, there's a lot of cultural diversity, and so people grow up with different food expectations and different
Absolutely.
palates.
And then, if I may say, one more thing we like to do also is demonstration cooking. So when you get in front of an elementary kid and you say to them, broccoli, that's not a big fan of a lot of people. So we show them different ways that they can make the broccoli. Doesn't always have to be cooked. You can do a broccoli salad with raisins and other carrots in it. So we introduced them to new things. Star fruit was a fruit that they really weren't familiar with. So we talked to them about the A to Z salads and putting those different items on the salad bar so that it would introduce them to it and help hopefully enhance that palate of theirs. So the older they get, they're used to trying different foods.
Right.
It is.
So we have salad bars?
Yes, ma'am.
we do in every school. And it's hard for me to have this conversation and not point out the great job that Roberta's done this year. Going back to school, we're calling it back to basics. COVID was tough for food services. It's kind of hard to,
Essential.
it really was. And there's been some great success stories from feeding the community and particularly in need. But as far as variety, it's tough when you give them a box in the classroom. The average works a hot or cold.
Yeah.
So, we're so excited about coming back this year. And of course, this year, the mantra is back to basics. And Roberta's done a great job of working with George Glover with the Funds and Extension and the Gullah Farmers Co-op. So from day one, we're going to be bringing in freshly grown fruits and vegetables to all of our schools that are picked here on St. Helena Island.
Yeah.
And we're really, really excited about this.
It's very exciting.
Yeah, there's also an opportunity, there an academic opportunity. The farmers have agreed to, if teachers want to organize and take field trips out to the fields, and kids can go out and get their hands in the dirt and
Yeah.
see what's like on a farm.
It's not the grocery store.
Yes, right.
Not the grocery store.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Robert, can you share with us just a little bit as liaison for the operations committee, how you are involved with the food services?
Well, as far as on our side, now one thing to recognize, I guess, is that one of the reasons why food service goes to finance is because that's under Tom. So that is one of the divisions under her. Our relationship with food service as far as maybe upgrading kitchens for the most part, or cafeterias. So,
And maintenance, I think, custodial.
yes, on the maintenance side, they do. Yeah, well, especially under COVID, that was a big part of COVID. But they do their own custodial within their kitchens. So that's one thing. Our district custodial contractor does not go in the kitchens. They're responsible.
So that could be a higher standard.
Yes,
It is, yes, very much so.
Process called HACCP, which is tracking every step of the way. If I may, though, for the good order for this expectations, so much of this is referring to the federal regulation, because so much what we do is federally regulated. So a lot of that falls under the auspices of the State Department of Education for audits and all, particularly free and reduced meal applications, and then the menuing. There's very specific guidelines on calories and fat grams and saturated fats, et cetera. We work with Robert's office in making recommendations on upgrading equipment. We've been very successful here in having a program that generates excesses every year. So in the last 10 years, we folded over $3.5 million back into the program that were generated by the program to replace equipment. And we work with Robert's team and kind of try to keep up with the 5-year plan, so he knows what to expend. We're going to be looking for the next year. Is that accurate?
Yeah. And actually, I think we're bringing. We just got the amendment going for this summer. So
it's close to $400,000.
Say it again.
It's close to $400,000.
Wow.
we're spending on kitchen upgrades.
Okay, wonderful. Wonderful. Okay. Mr. Smith or Ms. Boatwright, do you have any questions, comments, thoughts about OE 18 that we have not mentioned?
I do.
Mr. Smith?
I think it's
Not really. More so. I'm looking. I'm just looking. I'm looking forward because I too know that. Unfortunately, I've had some parents who have had some concerns about the food that the kids get. I've had some of the kids have told me too that they weren't always, comfortable with some of the food, that they weren't, happy with. I'm just hoping that we will be able to meet the needs of other students, and that everyone will be happy with this moving forward. I'll say that.
I would like to make a comment. I have 3 children and they're never all 3 happy with what I do. I don't have a single meal in my repertoire with all 3 children. You get all kids on one meal, let me know.
Yeah.
Well, as I said, I've got 2 girls. One is, if pizza's not on the menu, she's had a bad day. My other daughter will eat anything. So
And I've got one who's really adventurous.
I would just like to say that I don't see from the operations committee standpoint any recommendations to change OE 18, and that was our task, was to review this. I also think that the reports that are provided per OE 18 to the board satisfy any information that the operations committee might need. So I don't feel the need to integrate OE 18 into the operations committee.
No, I think it's financial because we're self-sustaining financially.
Yeah. So to that end, however, I think the operations committee could recommend approval of OE 18 to, not approval, acceptance to the full board. I think that because finance has already looked at it, they just wanted our eyes on it. We have no concerns, and so I think we could recommend to the full board acceptance of OE 18. And any information we need will come to the full board anyway,
Yeah, sure.
so I see this different. So if we could have a motion for that.
Well, I do have a question before we move this to the board. How are we getting because is correct me if I'm wrong, is the food services not contracted out?
Right, so Mr. Smith, our task today is strictly to look at OE 18 and determine if there are any parts of OE 18 that we need to change before it's adopted as the interpretation from the superintendent. So that's our task today. This was not a report on food services. It was strictly whether or not everything is in OE 18 that we as the board will need to understand food and nutritional services.
Okay, okay, I do understand. However, I still have additional questions, but I will ask this question here. In OE 18, in OE 8, what is it, OE 18? Can you tell me where in OE 18 that we have parental involvement in this OE? Because that definitely needs to be in there.
Okay, did you not see it in there somewhere?
No, I didn't. That's why I'm asking. I did not see it. That's why I'm asking.
Okay, all right, so
It's number 11.
Yeah. Let's see.
Solicit and encourage innovative methods, ideas to increase participation in the food service program. And it goes on to specify.
So, Mr. Smith, if you did not see it in here when you reviewed this document, are you suggesting it be added somewhere? And if so, where would you add it?
No, I'm not suggesting. I'm not suggesting to add it. What I'm saying is, I would like for to see more specific of how this document will engage parents into the process of deciding what kids are feed. Better yet, do we have a strong avenue to allow parents to advocate how they feel about what their kids are receiving? Better yet.
Right, I think it's a very good point. I was just asking you where you would put it in this OE 18 or where you would recommend adding it.
I don't think it's up to me. I think it's up to who's preparing the document. I think it's up to them, and where would they see fit to put it at?
Okay, well, this document was prepared by Ms. Crosby. So if you do not feel that this document contains that information, then you can vote no to bring this forward to the full board.
But this is about an interpretation, not a policy.
Right. So evidence of surveys to students, evidence of minutes of meetings with students, evidence of success with new programs. So you're suggesting that you would like to have in there that there would be perhaps evidence of surveys to parents.
Right.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So if you'd like to make that motion, or make that suggestion, then we could vote on that and then bring that forward. So a substitute, since you're going to make a motion, right? To bring this forward.
Well, we could vote on my motion and then. Yes, I think it needs to go to policy, if that's the issue. I don't think it goes to interpretation.
Well, it goes back to, like, Robert made changes and we accepted it.
Right, they'd have to change the interpretation, but I don't see in the policy that there's anything about that.
Oh, so you think I didn't either, I just was going to go into the interpretation, like
Yeah.
right here,
But I think we would,
indicators.
Mr. Smith, what I hear you saying, and tell me where I'm wrong, I think you want to add a policy that the board has that we engage parents in the food service. Because there's nothing in our policy right now, OE 8, that does that. Is that correct?
That is correct. That's correct.
Okay. So what needs to happen? So here's what I'm recommending, and then you jump in. that we approve OE8 because the interpretation, I'm sorry, OE18, because the interpretation of the current policies are adequate. And then we recommend to the policy board to review OE18 to potentially add additional policy language. Does that sound reasonable or correct?
That's reasonable. I can accept that. I can accept that. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Let me just vote on my motion and then we'll vote on the motion to accept the OE. And if you want to vote on a motion to refer additional language or to refer that part to the policy committee, we can do that maybe at the board. I think the full board should do that since it's going to policy. I don't think it should go committee to committee. I think it should go, so recommend that the full board, well, actually, I think what you should do is at the full board meeting, we'll make a recommendation, have policy committee look at it.
Well, I was gonna say make the recommendation now, with the knowledge of letting them know that we this can be a part of the report, that it was also recommended that it would be asked of the policy committee to look at OE18 because of so and so and so.
Okay, but we can still accept OE18 in the current interpretation.
Right,
the current level.
Right. So we can go ahead and vote on your motion first.
Did you second it?
Oh, yeah, I second that motion. Yeah, I'll second that motion.
All right, any other discussion about it? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you. Robin, did you get that?
You're on mute.
Okay, Robin, thank you.
Motion to recommend to the full board the acceptance of OE18.
Excellent, thank you. All right, so Mr. Smith then, what's the next step that you want done?
So I would like to make a motion that we recommend to the full board that we will have the policy committee to review OE18 to have involvement of parents feedback somewhere. I mean, well, oh Lord, excuse me. I just had it.
You're breaking up a little bit. You want me to take a crack at it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I move that we recommend to the full board to evaluate the policy of OE18, to expand the policy of OA18 to include parent engagement. How's that sound?
That's awesome. Thank you.
Say that motion to recommend to the full board.
That we look at the policy of OE18 to look into expanding the policy of OE18 to include parent engagement.
You lost me. Recommend to the full board the expansion of policy OE18 to include the involvement of parent engagement.
Yes, to expand it to include parent engagement in food services. Food services, well, because the board will want to talk about it, so I don't think we're just
Motion
asking.
to recommend to the full board the expansion. All right, I'm still not getting it. Motion to recommend to the full board the expansion of OE18 or the expansion because.
To include parent engagement.
Expansion of policy. All right.
Or parent engagement.
We're changing the words each time I say it. So that's my. Do me a favor, put it in chat because I'm not hearing you clearly.
Okay.
Motion to recommend to the full board the expansion of, all right, let me see if I got this. Let me see if I got this.
Of OE18 to include parent participation.
Parent engagement. Well, I have parent engagement. Okay, let me see. I have this down.
That's fine.
Because we're just asking for a conversation, so I'm super technical.
Can you see it?
Sure. Does that sound good?
Yeah. How's that look, Mr. Smith? Does that capture what you're doing?
Yeah, yes, that's awesome.
Okay.
All right,
You got to second it. Yeah, you seconded it.
right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so any more discussion about this? No, hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. I will say nay. And the reason I'm saying nay is that I don't think it requires a policy revision as much as it might require a monitoring indicator to include evidence of a survey to parents. So I don't feel it needs a policy change as much as it might just need the monitoring indicator change. So I'm voting no for this. Okay, so the motion carries 2-1. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Let's see, on our agenda, discussion of future topics. Any future topic discussions?
Actually, before we move on, I wanted to just say to the the staff, thank you for coming in. I really do appreciate you. I really appreciate your time and appreciate the work that you're putting around the district. By no means do I want to speak negative to your work. Go ahead.
Can we stick to the agenda? So discussion of future topics, and if you have none, then we can move to the adjournment and you can make your comments there. Is that okay?
Fine.
Fine. Do you have any future topics, Mr. Smith?
At this time, I don't.
Can you just vote right?
Nope.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Smith, please. Very nice. Proceed.
Come again?
Would you like to make some more comments prior to adjournment?
Yeah, I was just saying that I do appreciate. I was just going to finish up and say I do appreciate the Sodexo and their staff for all that they do for the kids that they do, because I do know that they go above and beyond, and they are at times frontline workers. So but at the same time, I do want to serve my constituents, and I just wanted everybody, all of us, to get on the same page so that we can continue to move forward with each other. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Yes, sir.
Lunch is usually most students' favorite time of the day. So motion to adjourn,
So moved. Seconded.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Thank you very much.